Good morning, everybody. Temperature on my car this morning said for the first time like minus 1.5. I was like, this is not funny. This is not cool. This is not interesting. Winter can get the hell out of town right now. It's enough. Anyway, we've started our Wednesday morning together, and I hope it's going to get a whole lot better from here on in. It's going to be August by Friday too, so maybe things will start warming up, and before we know it, it's spring. So let's get stuck into that. Guest this morning is someone we've been waiting to get into this studio for some time now, because I was on his show not so long ago, and I said to him, I'll do it, but you got to come and do this show. And he agreed. And he flew up from Cape Town, and here he is, Heinz Winckler.
Hello. Good morning. I am well. It's chilly here.
You look way too fucking happy for this time of the morning. What's up with you?
I'm glad to be here, man. I'm excited.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, it's so cool to be able to come up and just spend time with you. So
yeah,
I'm grateful.
Well, I mean, we had a lot of fun on your podcast. It's called the In Hindsight Boldcast. You've given me the shirt, which I wore the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, cool.
I wore it at the gym while I was
Come
training.
on.
And, yeah, it's
great.
Good. Anyway, it was a fun show to be on. And
Thank you.
I've received very good feedback from like family and friends and those kind of people.
Okay, cool.
Not from the noise on the internet, but people seem to have enjoyed it, which is,
it was a great conversation.
Always nice when that happens.
Yeah.
So what's been happening with you?
Well, the podcast is new in my life. It's only launched in April this year.
How many times you do that in a month?
I'm launching an episode a week.
Okay.
So
that's manageable, right?
Yeah. So I'm recording. I'm kind of trying to record ahead. I schedule interviews as much as I can. I've got a list of people that I want to still get to, and it's my ideal is to do this in person.
Sure.
So it takes a bit more effort. But it ends up being, such a much better conversation.
I find that you can have great conversations with people online, but it's keeping that focus going for a long time.
Yeah.
And I mean, when we spoke, it was like, 2 hours?
Over 2 hours, yeah.
And I don't know, maybe my attention span is just getting worse and worse as I get older. Or else, there's some kind of ADHD going on. I don't want to bring in, mental health conditions, because who knows? I've never been diagnosed. I can't claim to be ADHD, but I certainly don't focus as well as most people do.
Okay.
But I think anything longer than, like my idea, the Goldilocks zone is somewhere between 45 minutes and an hour and a half.
Okay.
I reckon.
Yeah.
After that, you find people start to repeat themselves. Even the most interesting people get boring. You see the host is like, oh shit, I got to fill up 3 hours. and I listen occasionally to longer podcasts. The longest one I probably listen to is Dan Carlin's, what's it called? Something History, which is amazing. But you listen to that over a number of days,
Yes. Well,
and it's a story.
People do that with my episodes as well that are a bit longer. They break it up. But when it's a great conversation, people don't mind leaning in and listening, because it does two things, which is the aim of my podcast: to make you think critically, and to empower you and equip you to have language, to also speak about stuff that matters, because I find that a lot of people that have a Christian or a more conservative worldview, they know they believe what they believe, but they don't always have the guts or the way to enunciate, explain what they believe. And typically, people on the left are just loud and not necessarily right, but they seem so confident that the others go, So you talk about the silent majority. So I think one of the aims of my show is to give the silent majority a voice, and I'm hoping to do that.
I think that's a noble cause, and I'm sure that there are lots of people in our comments who'll be agreeing with you about that. But I've had enough of people saying, thank you for saying what we're thinking.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of people not taking personal responsibility for their piece of planet Earth. And I don't mean land. I mean your position in society, your place in the world. It matters.
Yeah.
You matter as a person.
Yeah.
And I don't have a whole lot of time for people who are going to hand that responsibility on to somebody else, because we live in a different time now. I don't mean you have to have your own podcast. I don't mean you have to be like shouting and screaming on social media all the time. But for example, yesterday, I noticed a man shaving his balls at the gym. Okay, he was shaving, older black gentleman with a saggy fucking front ass and a saggy back ass. And he was lifting, he actually lifted his leg up on the basin and started shaving his balls.
In the gym bathroom.
In the basin.
Wow.
And,
That's new.
You know, like it took everything, it took everything in me to not go up to him and say, dude.
This is not okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Old man, whatever I must call you, like this is not how you behave in a civilized society.
Oh my goodness.
You save that shit for your poor wife who has to see you doing it bent over in the shower. But you do not do this. I'm sorry, I don't want to accept that kind of behavior in a public place. It is, right?
I hear you.
It's just gross.
But you said something great when you were on my podcast. You I think it was towards the end of the conversation. You said, "Can I just ask people? It starts with you in your everyday life. Just put back your own trolley."
Yeah, and get out of the fucking way. You know, there was a guy
It's in the small day-to-day things, yeah.
There's a guy driving like a bucky yesterday in the fast lane at like 70 kilometers an hour. And for the love of everything, I just don't understand how people like that think or don't think that. What are you living in a bubble? Your behavior doesn't affect anyone else? There's a civilizing factor about driving, right? And by that I mean, if you've never driven a car before in your life and you've only ever been a passenger in public transport, like in a lot of countries and cities all over the world, and particularly young people are less likely to get their driver's licenses now than they've ever been.
Okay.
You know this?
No.
So, yeah, apparently... and certainly it counts, Europe, counts for North America, that more and more young people are electing not to drive. And if they start driving at a much later age. Now, I don't know about you, but when I started driving, I mean, I couldn't wait.
No, right? I got it on my 18th birthday.
Yeah, and at like 16, I was already begging my parents to let me drive the car up and down the driveway
you want
or whatever.
Independence. Yeah.
So you want to learn how to do that stuff, but they
want to launch.
They don't want to do that. These
I
kids
saw something yesterday about they were talking to someone. I think it was a pastor. He was mentioning that the statistics are showing that this generation, this young generation, is launching the latest in life. Latest to get work, latest to get married, latest to have children,
right?
Latest to so that tracks.
They're also emotionally maturing at a much later age. So
yeah,
they
but
still sound like 14-year-olds at the age of 25.
It does come back to what you are saying, and my opinion on that is his point was we live in an underfathered, overmothered society.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it links back to the crisis of fatherlessness. Yeah. And, people learn civility and basic etiquette mainly from a dad if he's setting the example well, and that goes over into the next generation, and if it's not there, it's missing.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people acting weird because they were not trained.
Most people who have both parents, the dad is the one who teaches them how to drive.
Yeah.
Right? So what driving does, and this is something that I heard with, I think it was Rory Sutherland, the great advertising guru, who said, when people learn to share the road, you also learn road manners.
Yeah.
And if you don't have road manners, the cost can be extremely high, as in like you could lose your life to someone out of road rage.
That's true, yeah.
But there's a kind of almost a tacit implication of if you don't pay attention to what's going on around you on the road, other people will reprimand you. You will be hooted at. You will be given the middle finger. People will lean out of their window and call you a fucking idiot as they drive past. And that should happen. That's very important. So,
especially here in Joburg.
So correct. I mean, listen, I can argue that Cape Town drivers are worse. It seems to me they're never in a
I'm not talking about the drivers. I'm talking about the reprimanding.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
it's pretty bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad in Joburg.
It's very, very bad. People are so rude. But you know what? It's good. It's necessary.
Yeah.
And without that civilizing influence, people will never be able to share the roads, to drive properly, to learn when to indicate, when not to indicate. And I mean, I sound like such a grumpy old man when I talk about this stuff, but honestly, this is the kind of thing that can ruin your day if you are a hardworking South African who's trying to make ends meet. You're trying to get things done. You know, you want to get home to your family at the end of the day. You want to make sure that you're as good as possible at the office. You're trying to be good, trying to do things. And the roads can really screw your day up. It can keep you delayed and make you late for work. It can put you in a foul mood if you have encounters with terrible people and stupid people and unsocialized people. So it's very necessary for people to learn those things. And now, with the advent of electric cars, Uber, people not necessarily being behind the wheel, being responsible on the road, it's not only affecting the passengers badly because they never learn to socialize themselves on the road. It's a shared place where you need, like the gym, to not shave your balls. It's a place where people need to learn to give and take, you know?
Yeah.
And
just the simple fact of getting your license, it takes responsibility.
Yeah.
It takes training.
Yes.
It takes showing up on time and knowing stuff. And a lot of people are just shying away from personal responsibility. And that's one of the things we love to talk about.
I want to get back to your over-mothering and under-fathering in a second. But to finish this point, the other people who are affected very badly by this are... James, did you just knock the camera over? Flex, he's such an idiot, right? Unbelievable. Sorry.
You just broke the fourth wall.
My children are behaving badly. What do you want me to do?
You just broke the fourth wall, man.
Yeah, I always do that. I've been doing that for years. It doesn't just affect the passengers and the people who are not driving or are learning to drive much later or take that responsibility personally that you said a second ago is so important. It's also pedestrians. So apparently with Waymos in America, they've discovered that people don't give right of way to Waymos. So
What's
pedestrians,
Waymo? Sorry.
So it's a driverless car.
Oh,
So you've got people who are in the back with blacked out windows.
wow.
But there's no driver. So people are just completely devoid of respect when it comes to these things.
Oh, wow.
So if you see one coming, you're like, fuck, I'm going to walk. So you walk because you know it'll stop, right? Because it'll sense you and it'll stop. Whereas if there's a driver, you know that driver will swear at you and there's a consequence. So people on the other end of this equation, the pedestrians, are also becoming less responsible. So I don't know. You know, technology is great. I love it. Big fan. I'm into AI. I use it all the time. I can't wait for them to have a robot so I can have a robot slave. Who wouldn't want that? Who wouldn't want to do like tasks around the house and
make things
get
a
the
bit
shopping
easier.
and I mean those things are not interesting
It's
to
like
do.
a robot butler.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm all for that stuff. And
Okay.
frankly, I don't think I'd be that opposed to... I saw this thing the other day. I'm sure you've seen it too. You seen that Star Wars bike?
No.
Oh, dude. I'm going to make your day. You don't still have that video anywhere, do you?
Star Wars bike.
Oh, my God.
I can
this
imagine.
thing. So did you watch Star Wars as a kid?
Not all of them. I was not that into it, to be honest.
What the... I mean, how
I'm
could you just watch
sorry.
one or two of... Surely if you get into it, you get into it.
I'm not one of those. Sorry, not my thing.
All
I was
right,
more
well.
of the Braveheart gladiator kind of guy.
Really? Okay, well...
No.
Those are good movies, but they're just standalone movies.
Yeah. I got
still
into
haven't-
The Matrix and I got into Lord of the Rings.
I've
Big
got
time.
bad news. You're still in the Matrix. Anyway, this
I was just talking to my wife about that this week. Yeah.
the Star
Anyway.
Wars bike is, if you watched Return of the Jedi, which was the third in the original trilogy,
Okay.
and they're in this forest planet, and they're these little bears, the Ewoks,
Okay.
but they ride around on speeder bikes, so they float this high off the ground.
Yeah. I've seen the
And
scenes.
they
Yeah,
buzz
yeah.
around. They've made one.
That can actually float.
Jet. Yes.
What?
Now that I want.
Yo. So
But can you imagine what the traffic is going to be like once
Bro.
someone...
levitating cars freak me out. Like, how do you control that?
I think it'll be
Everything
amazing.
will have to have self-governance,
Oh, no.
of some kind.
So a friend of mine has... I love a couple of friends who have drones. But this mate of mine this weekend showed me how his drones can terrorize cattle. So you fly your drone. I know that there are going to be farmers who are very pissed off about this and animal rights activists are going to shit themselves. But it was all fun and games. No cows lost anything. Nobody fell and hurt themselves.
Maybe they lost their milk.
Maybe. These drones fly, just a couple of meters above the car. They freak out completely and start,
You can imagine it's like a massive fly.
Yeah, they shit themselves.
It sounds like a...
But drones are easy to control. You've got your direction on the right-hand side, and you've got your elevation on the left.
Yeah.
Humans can learn these things very quickly. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to be able to drive something that's a little more complicated than a lawnmower. You don't.
Okay.
So I think also these things are going to be hugely expensive. So you're not going to see lanes of them in the traffic in the mornings.
Probably.
100 meters up from
Can you imagine driving over the traffic?
Oh, I'd love it.
That would be that would be amazing. I dream of that
I
often.
would so love it.
Especially if I'm late for a flight. It's like, I need to get around these cars.
Common Sense says Gareth talking about himself again. What do you think this fucking show is? It's called the Gareth Cliff Show. Were you coming here for something else, Common Sense? Because then you don't have a whole lot of what your name is.
That's not a lot of common sense.
No, surely not. But
That's
to
funny.
get back to you, you did say this thing. Thank you for the reprimand. You said you heard somebody else say that we're an overmothered, underfathered
Society.
at the moment. So where do you see that?
Where do I see it?
Yeah.
I see it in the church that we lead. I see it in especially the young generation, what you would call Gen Z and now a bit of Gen Alpha. They are, the Bible, there's a reference where Jesus talks about the people of Israel being like sheep without a shepherd, scattered. That's kind of the impression you get, is that they're searching for meaning, they're searching for a place to connect. Most of them have, because they didn't have a father or a good father, they are just lost. That's the short answer. So, and all of us, I believe, are yearning for meaning in life, yearning for connection, and yearning to belong. And to the extent that you don't find that, you're going to do stupid things in the pursuit of finding that, and bump your head, hurt yourself, hurt others, until you find the answer. And we've seen some beautiful things happen where it started with one young guy who grew up in a very tough situation. No dad, mom was a drug addict. He was kind of fathered by his uncle just to help him. And because of that help, he was kind of in an okay place. Yeah. But he was using drugs, using alcohol, not in a great space. He started coming to church, and it just completely changed his life around when he had an encounter with God. And now he brought his girlfriend. She had an encounter. Her life changed. Now that pattern started continuing, and now there's like 18 of them.
Wow.
And they are...
Okay.
I'm meeting with them every 2 weeks just as a group, and just to also spend time with them and speak into their lives. And you're seeing something beautiful happen there.
All right. I mean, nothing you've said to me is controversial, but there are going to be people who say, how can you say that kids who grow up without a father are directionless and lost? Because they'll quote you out of context. Right?
Well, you can fight that, and I don't even have to make a Christian argument. You can just talk to any proper psychologist or people who study human beings. The best, most healthy place for any person to grow up in is a house with a father and a mother. The statistics show it, the research shows it. It confirms God's word, but you don't even need to look at God's word to confirm it. It's just how it is. And you can look at the statistics. There's people who've done studies on this, who run websites for all about fatherlessness and the impact on society. A person who grew up in a fatherless home, 78% more likely to be uneducated, end up in jail, get pregnant before 18.
Yeah.
There's a whole list of things. Get involved in gangsterism, get drug addicted.
Yeah, I want to take this opportunity to blame single mothers for doing a terrible job.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm kidding.
Yes. You had to go there.
No, but it is going to be a feeling thing.
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, people will hear what you're saying, and they'll say, you're saying exactly what I just pretended to care about, is that it's single mothers whose fault.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that...
I know that, but people are going to hear that, because what unfortunately happens, and it happens a lot with people who have a guilty conscience, or people who feel they're trying their best and it's not their fault. Maybe they've been abandoned by somebody, they've been let down, they've been forgotten about, someone's completely irresponsible and has handed the whole child rearing responsibility over to them, whatever the case may be. There are a lot of different reasons people may feel that way, but they don't hear you saying fatherlessness is a big problem. They hear you pointing fingers, and this happens to me.
That's not what I'm doing.
I've spoken about exactly the same thing you have, and the statistics are clear. The evidence is abundant that this is the case.
Well, this
But
is
you're
the
gonna
whole
get
thing
people
about
who
truth.
go,
Do you believe in truth? Do you believe in objective truth? Because if you don't, then yes, you'll probably go that way. And if you are already scarred, let's see if a husband left you, or if a guy made a baby with you and left, you're scarred.
Yeah, of course.
So now you will be in a position where you are sensitive and easily offended if you haven't dealt with that wound from your past. So you will lash out when someone seems to touch you on your motherhood, and that's not what I'm doing, and a reasonable person will hear that. What I'm talking about is the gap that is left when there is no father figure. That is a huge gap in a person's life.
So when
a mother can't father.
when you
As
get
hard as she
together-
tries, she can't.
when you get together with these guys who've come from like difficult backgrounds and they're trying to get their life right, you know, you're almost taking on a fatherly role there. Now, I mean, you've got your own kids,
Yes.
so I would say to you, like, you've got enough responsibilities. What the hell are you doing with these guys? What sort of stuff do you talk about with them?
Well, firstly, I would say I have realized from the beginning, and because of good mentoring, that I need to look at my own house first. So I always prioritize my wife, my children. That's my first priority, and I must never neglect that. Because the last thing I want are children who hate God because the ministry stole my dad. You know, you don't want that. The typical PK thing. But so that's my first priority.
PK, by the way, not Pusklap, but Pastoorsekind.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you for clearing that.
I want to make sure that people understand. I don't want them to think you're handing out Pusklapper here on the show this morning. You don't talk like that.
Oh my word. Okay, so
All right, go on.
So back to that. Part of my role in the pastoral role I have is a role of a father in a way, and so we call it discipleship, mentoring, guiding, and they need direction, and that's what we give. But my view is that I cannot replace the full role of an earthly father, and I cannot be God to people. What I can do is point them to Him and point them to the truth of life and what it's all about. And that's what I try to do. And I let them ask questions. The big thing I find with the young generation and with many people in our church that have been hurt by the church is I couldn't ask questions. No one could answer my questions. When I asked questions, they chased me away, kind of thing. And these young people want to ask questions. I want to know what's the meaning of life? Who is God? How does this all work? Why is there pain and suffering in the world? Blah, blah, blah. And we can go through those things and chat about what's really important to them. And my thing is I let them ask the questions. I ask questions back, because then they start thinking. And then I point them to the Bible, and then they start going, oh, wow, okay, I see it. And then they have personal revelations about truth of what really matters in life. And that I see having fruit in their lives, and that's really encouraging. So beautiful to see.
Yeah, I like the sound of that, and there's so much we can unpack about those questions, because, I mean, I ask myself the same question. I'm sure you do too, all the time. What's the meaning of life? What am I doing today that's significant and important? How can I make the world a slightly better place? How do I improve the lives of others? All of those are important things. We can maybe get into them just now. But it strikes me as interesting, too, that these are universal human questions across the board, right? And we can get into a discussion of how important religious institutions may be, and your own understanding of where they contribute to people and give them grounding, give them something to build a life and meaning in. But you mentioned truth earlier. I think that's really a very interesting thing to get into, because everybody thinks they're the only one who has a grip on what's true. Right? I mean, sometimes I've caught myself doing this, and you see things from your point of view. I don't think there's a whole lot of ground left for people who go, it's my truth, because that's been completely annihilated.
Okay.
This idea of it's your truth and my truth, and both can coexist. Well, there has to be an objective set of facts and realities, or else we don't live on the same planet.
So this is the challenge. Huh?
And I want to know where you think the line is, because I know lots of very good, well-meaning people who don't believe there's objective truth. They look at everything and go, well, this is all on a personal lived experience spectrum. Nothing is necessarily right or wrong. It's all a point of view thing. And it drives me a little bit crazy, because I suppose I'm more on the side of there is objective truth. Certainly our courts of law require objective proof of facts, truth.
Yeah.
Science requires that of us. You can argue that there are fundamental forces around us that they don't need your permission. Things like gravity.
No.
It exists whether you like it or not. So you may go, well, my truth is that gravity doesn't exist. But what are you going to do? Jump and fly off the face of the planet? It's just not possible.
Yeah. People think their truth, that they think is their truth, will become truth just because they believe it. But it doesn't work that way. Facts are facts whether you believe them or not. And it's a hard thing to swallow. I think it's people's coping mechanism, because they actually don't want to deal with reality, because reality is quite rough to deal with. I think that's part of it. And the other thing is, people don't want to take responsibility for their lives. And because
that's a big deal.
The thing, my conviction is, and we did talk about it a bit on my show as well, but my conviction is that once you start really looking at what is true, you will eventually get to the place where you realize there is a God, He is the creator, and He set everything in motion. Now, that freaks a lot of people out. Why? Because if there's a creator and you are created, it automatically means you are responsible for the way you live. If you're responsible, it means you have to give an account for your life. And most people don't want to do that.
No, they don't.
And so truth is a slippery slope to accountability, I think, and that's one of the reasons people might want to avoid it. Because what do I say when I say my truth? I make it subjective. I make it about me.
Then
now
you
it's
can't
selfish.
Say I'm wrong.
Yeah,
essentially, it's like I'm giving myself a get out of jail free card
but
for all my bad behavior.
But the thing is about the argument that there's no objective truth is a self-defeating argument, because if you're making that statement that there's no objective truth, then how do I know your statement is true? It's a self-defeating argument. It's one of the main things apologists use to take atheists out at the knees, because a lot of them believe there's no objective truth.
Chris Smith says it takes a lot of imagination to be an atheist. This is something you and I touched on when I was on your podcast a while ago.
It takes a lot of faith, actually, to be an atheist.
It does. Well, this is a whole other discussion. And I mentioned to you, when I was in my very militant atheist stage, I know I took great pleasure in destroying what I saw as facile arguments of religious people, because I just thought that they were believing in something which was not true, which could not be proven. It's difficult to prove that stuff, because so much of it is numinous and supernatural, and it comes from very vague and ancient sources. And it's difficult to pin that stuff down.
It's easier to pin it down than to prove stuff like Big Bang and the evolution. But
we're getting evolution.
I'm gonna send you a book and I'll show you.
Sure, but I mean, evolution's a cut and dried case. It doesn't mean, a friend of mine said once, "Oh, we don't come from monkeys," and that's the kind of ignorant thing that people will say when they don't know what evolution is. We can see it happening. What kind of dogs do you have?
I've got schnauzers, miniature schnauzers.
Right, they're not wolves. The reason you can breed schnauzers from wolves over hundreds of years is because...
but that's microevolution. Everyone agrees on that. But it's macroevolution. One species to another. You don't get that.
But
there's
we're not
no
talking
proof
about,
of that.
I mean, the tree of life we know goes all the way back to Picaia gracilens, which is the first thing that had a little spinal cord from which all chordate animals developed. And everything had to have come from that. Somewhere along the tree. Now, it might have got more complicated down the way, but it's not saying that we're cousins of gorillas.
If you just look at your eye, Gareth, and
Yeah.
the complexity of your eye and what had to have happened for the exact thing to be in your eye,
I don't
it
doubt
takes
it.
a lot more faith to believe that came from, accident
are
than design.
Are we God's
So-
final and best creation?
Are we what?
Are we God's final and best creation?
I believe we are the crown of his creation.
Okay, but
Supposed
then
to be.
if you take the eye, which you brought up, I didn't choose the eye. The osprey has a far better eye than we do. It can see 5 or 6 kilometers away.
I'm not
from-
talking about the ability of the eye. I'm talking about the intricacy of the design of the eye, which is incredible.
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not looking to pick a fight with you on evolution, but it's fairly established science. It's kind of like, when the global warming people will say to you, everybody accepts that there's climate change and global warming, and 97% of scientists agree, and they haven't proven it yet. But things like evolution, like gravity, like the Big Bang theory, which you brought up earlier. I mean, you can prove the Big Bang happened because we can hear the microwave background radiation, which takes us to just a few seconds after that happened. Now, I'm not saying there isn't the possibility that was all God's soup that he made the whole universe in. And I study science from the point of view that this is the recipe book of God. And I find that, as a non-religious person, and you and I had huge common ground the last time we spoke about this, because I realized it's very stupid to be, to choose to be ignorant of things that you can't explain and write them off as being unnecessary and noise and, unimportant. I think it's massively important that people have a structure of belief, and that structure of belief is as close to truth as possible. And I think that the monotheistic religions get about as close, and there have been some brilliant brains over the years, and I'm talking about thousands of years, who have been working solidly and tirelessly to try and make sense of complicated religious ideas. They've done a pretty good job. I'm not going to disregard all of that and say, well, because of Darwin and because of Stephen Hawking, screw Francis of Assisi or any of the other great church leaders of the Middle Ages. Even the modern church leaders. There are lots of things there that aren't valueless. But I think it's silly to pit science and religion against each other. I don't believe, like Hitchens said, that they are mutually non-overlapping magisteria. I think they share.
I think science, real science, not science of the will, science of facts, is just confirms God's word. That's what I've seen.
There's a grace and an elegance to numbers.
Yeah.
And to music, and to fractals, and to science that appears to be, and they're constants in the world.
Yeah.
There's, the speed of light, for example. And these things are determinate and therefore have to have been determined. Now, you attribute that to a creator, which seems to me like it's not an altogether stupid way to look at things.
No.
like
It's the only one to me that makes sense logically, actually.
Intelligent design, right?
Just to show an example, there's a well-known author. She's actually South African, but she lives in America now, Dr. Caroline Leaf. I don't know if you've heard of her work.
Tell me about her.
She's a well-known neurologist, and she had a huge breakthrough a couple of years ago when she was able to prove, but before her study and her research, most scientists believe that the synapses in our brains that have to do with memory and decision making, all that stuff, they form as you grow, and then because as you have life experiences, traumas, great experiences, whatever it might be, they form and then they solidify and they can't change. That was the science.
Yeah.
She was able to show through many trials and research that if you apply certain positive changes and you do it consistently over a period of time, I think she nailed it down to 63 days. If you change the way you think for 63 days, you actually start seeing new neural pathways forming in your brain.
Yeah.
So that
This is a neuroplasticity
Yes.
argument, right?
Yes, and that confirmed a scripture from the Bible, Romans 12, which says, "Do not be conformed to this world and its patterns, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." So don't look at the way things are done by people who are broken and sinful. Let you be transformed by the way by changing the way you think, getting it in line with the way of God. And I've seen that happen in my own life. I've seen that happen in many people's lives. Once they grab hold of truth about their value and who God is and how He sees them, and they start to think that and speak it, because our words have power, I believe, then you start seeing them change in front of your eyes from thinking negative thoughts, being depressed, worrying all the time, struggling with anxiety, to people who are suddenly free and calm and sees the world the right way. So there is hope for everyone, which is so amazing, that you're not stuck in whatever life has dealt you. It doesn't have to be the end. There's always hope. You just need some help and guidance and direction, but there's always hope. And the hardest part is to just wake up the next morning again and say to yourself, I'm not a loser, I'm not hated, I am accepted, I am loved, remember who I am, and just to remind yourself, of those things.
I love that, and I think it's also a huge difference between you and me, because I'm not in the hope business.
You're not in the hope business?
No, I mean, I hopefully this show makes people entertained, and it will make them think, and they come back for more. But I'm not selling hope. I don't. I mean, I'm a positive, optimistic, hopeful person. But really, when you're in the religion business, you are selling hope. It's a big part of it, and you're selling people all kinds of other life skills too, which they're probably not getting anywhere else.
Yeah,
and I think that's massively important.
It is.
What made you decide to actually do this to create a church? Because you could have, become a social worker or a motivational speaker. There are lots of other avenues where you could have had the ability to
stay a singer.
You could have stayed a singer. Hey, listen, I mean, people get a lot of really stupid and terrible people are getting their morals and ethics from singers, and they're getting spiritual guidance from Taylor fucking Swift.
Scary lyrics.
You could do worse. But what made you decide to start the church?
It was quite a long journey, to be honest. It's not something I can quickly summarize, but I'll try. So, I mean, most people will know I did Idols 23 years ago. I did that for a long time. Music, live music, that was my thing. I was just driving around. It was so cool to think back to the days of performing at this famous place here. Oh, no, I forget the name.
Where? Which one? There were a few. I mean,
right here in Sandton. There's. Oh, I just blanked on the name. It'll come back to me. Anyway, but I did that for a very long time. I eventually got married, had our first kids, and then at 2014 we felt led to move. I was in Joburg for 10 years then. Felt to move back to the Cape. We went to Somerset West.
Because your family are in the Cape, and
we are in Somerset
there,
West. Yeah.
No, so, but I mean, your childhood was spent.
Yes, I grew up in Stellenbosch. Most of my life. Studied at Marty's and all that, and so from 2014 things started to shift in a direction. And long story short, I felt led to go from commercial music to Christian music. Then I started traveling the country, mainly singing at churches. And one of those churches I was at, they had 3 services, which that's a lot of hard work to do 3 of the same for different crowds on the same day.
It's a big church.
It's hectic. Yeah, they packed out 700 people 3 times a day. Because their venue can only take 750 or something. But it's in George, Hope Church.
Supply
and
demand. Listen to me, I can't even speak properly. Supply and demand. So this pastor, they have to do 3 a day on
same service. Yeah, copy and paste 3 times a day. Okay. It's hectic. Anyway, so after 2 of the services, I had lunch with the pastor, and in the conversation, he just dropped it. He said, "So, when are you planting a church?" And
Is that what you say? You plant one?
Yeah. Plant a church. So I went. I laughed at him, and he went. And I could see he was like dead serious. And I went, "Are you serious?" He said, "Yes." His words were, I can see it's something that's on your life. And he invited me to a church planting conference about 6 months later. And I went there and I heard something there from one of the speakers that triggered something inside of me. He said that a life-giving church should be a place where lost people get saved, saved people get healed, healed people discover their callings in life, and those people step out in their callings. And all 4 people should feel welcome on a Sunday. And I went, that's the best definition of church I've ever heard. And it triggered again something in me. And then I started sensing in the way I say it, I sensed in my spirit that God was leading me, that's what he wants me to do. But I was fighting it. I would pray and feel
Why
that.
Why were you fighting it?
Because deep on my inside, I don't feel I'm worthy. I don't feel I'm the right guy. You know, I don't know if you know the story of Moses in Exodus when God calls him and he first says, no, I can't speak well.
Send Aaron.
Yeah, and then God he has an argument with God. And then there's this line, and I was reminded of that line. The anger of God was kindled against Moses. And I was like, I don't want that. So I went, Lord, okay, I'm submitting, but I don't understand.
You could have been turned into a pillar of salt. Yeah. That would have been the end of your career. Holy hell.
So for me, that was part of there was all these conversations.
But do you think God was angry?
No.
Like would have been if you hadn't done it?
I do think this is an interesting conversation about, we can get into that. Does God get angry? I do think so because the Bible says so. But we mustn't.
A couple of charred places on earth.
The Bible also says he gets jealous, but we must not equate his anger and jealousy with human anger and jealousy. It's not the same thing. His anger comes from a place of, he's a righteous God. He knows everything from everything. So when he tells you to do something, there should be trust and faith and walking by faith. And then you see, in the walking out, you see what he had in mind. And that was my experience. Only by 2020, in the middle of COVID, did I get the final confirmation and the sense of, I know that I need to do this. God gave me scripture. My final scripture that moved me was Acts 4:13, where there was this moment where the Pharisees were looking at Peter and John, they were with Jesus, they were baptized in the Holy Spirit, and they were causing trouble because they were spreading the gospel, and the Pharisees were upset. So
those Pharisees didn't have a
called
great
them into a room, they clobbered them with sticks, and they said to them, don't do this again. And then there's a beautiful verse. They ran out of the place, and they were rejoicing. They were rejoicing because they were counted worthy to suffer like Christ, which is a crazy counterintuitive thing. Then you see a next scene where they just keep doing what they're doing. And then there's a line where the Pharisees look at Peter and John, and then the Bible says they perceived that they were untrained and unqualified men, but that they had been with Jesus. And in that moment, I just felt that's my story as well. I'm not trained, I'm not qualified in human terms maybe, but I've been with Jesus and he wants me to go. So I went and I started in a coffee shop with like 30 people, and now we're probably around 155 years later. That's almost.
Pretty good. I was going to say, what are your numbers like? You know, it's like social media numbers.
Yeah.
How many followers have you got?
No, listen, we've had people join, we've had people leave. It happens, you know. But
it's not going to be.
But we have a core. Someone told me once that church people are there. Some of them are pillars and some of them are scaffolding.
Which is better?
The scaffolding helps for a season and they go, and you should be okay with that. The pillars are the ones that you lean on to build really well into the future. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna turn from this. We'll get back to it though a bit later. Yeah, we're gonna speak about travel in a moment or two. Something else that I think I want your input on. But it's amazing to me. You talk about the church as being like a part of people's lives. It's not for me. A lot of religious people do religion a disservice by using church as an excuse for what they do outside of church the rest of the time. They're horrible people.
Yeah, like a box to tick.
Yeah, and then they go to church on a Sunday and they go, got that out of the way.
I call them cultural Christians or nominal Christians. You know, our country's statistics, and the latest one said that we are 80% Christian. If that's true, then Christianity is really ineffective.
Yeah, because we're not a great society.
No. So I don't believe 80% of people are truly born again, laid their lives down, following Jesus, Holy Spirit-filled Christians. I think most of them just grew up in a Christian home, which means they've got a culture of there is a God, His Son is Jesus Christ, we go to church, you go to Sunday school, you get married in church, you die in church, that's it. So there's that. But that's not having a relationship with God. That's practicing religion. And that's the big difference.
Do all people have to have that relationship with God? I mean, there are
all people are invited to have that relationship with God. God forces no one. He invites everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. I think modern Christianity, the kind that you just described, where it's a personal relationship with God, it's only about 500 or 600 years old. If you consider Martin Luther to be the first one who said you can have a personal relationship with God, because before that, for 1,500 years, it was about going through the Catholic Church.
Well, you're ignoring the first century church big time if you say that.
Yeah,
which
we don't
is not
know
true.
a lot about it.
We
Heinz.
do.
I mean,
You just read the New Testament.
Yeah, but that's your only source there. And the New Testament, if you'll forgive me, is
It's
kind
not
of
true. There's other first, second, third century theologians who wrote, and there are things to track.
The New Testament wasn't written during the lifetime of any of the people it talks about.
That's not true.
Which one was?
They were written in the lifetimes of the people who wrote the Gospels. Were written in their lifetime.
I mean,
The Acts was written in their lifetime by Luke. Luke wrote the book of the Gospel of Luke and the book of Acts, and you also the Hebrews writer wrote it in about 68 to 69 A.D. So
that's already a good 30 years after Jesus.
yeah.
You know, in 30 years, a lot can happen.
Yeah, but you have all
mean,
the
30
eyewitness
years ago-
testimonies. There were 500 eyewitness
30
testimonies
years
of
ago,
all those
Clinton
people.
was president, and I don't remember anything except Monica Lewinsky. So it's difficult to get the. And I'm not saying this to have an argument with you, but I'm saying
No, I mean you can say
history-
the modern Protestant movement, yes, is about 500 years old. You can say that.
And Protestantism has broken down into so many different sects and versions and divisions.
There's over 6 big lines of churches in the world, and over, depending on your source, over 35,000 denominations.
So how do you feel about the Catholics or the Russian Orthodox Church?
Why do I feel about them?
Yeah, because you're in
So,
the business of hope. You're
I
also
can-
in business, and you have the souls of people to think about, which none of those things apply to me. I just look at them and go, well, that one looks like they dress up slightly better on Easter. Those ones have better hymns.
Yeah.
That one has nicer traditions. These are the kind of things that I question about people who only think about their version of the religion when you've got, it's like having a brother or sister and not knowing anything about them.
The big difference for me is where the revelation for me came when I realized the only thing that I should build my life upon is the Word of God, the Bible. Now, I know that's contentious, but many people have proven over many years that the Bible is the Bible. There's a reason why. I mean, I can send you books on why, and the archaeological, historical eyewitness proof that the Bible is the Bible, and it's true, and it's got 63,000 references within it to prove that it is true, confirming
You mean
all
when
the
you
prophecies.
say true, you mean historically accurate? You mean
Yes.
True,
And that
provably-
the correlations can only be explained by supernatural intervention. So if you have a book compiled from books that are written over 1,500 years, over 4 continents by 40 authors, and they've got word for word quoting the same thing, it can only be inspired by something supernatural. So that being said, back to my point, I believe the Bible is the Word of God, and I should base my life on that. What has happened is that many of these lines of churches that you talk about, they initially would take the written word and they were able to read it. Many people were illiterate, and then they would start seeing the power linked to having this authority that we can tell people how things should be and how life should be and whatever. And as long as they don't read all of the book, then we can actually wield quite a bit of power. And what would then develop is man-made rules, rituals, and traditions, which is something Jesus didn't like. He took out the Pharisees because of their man-made rules that they didn't even follow themselves. I mean, the Torah gives the Jews 613 laws. The rabbis over the years and the Pharisees over the years added more onto that. But it wasn't written in the law initially.
Like an out-of-control government.
Yeah. And so to answer your question, how do I feel about it? I don't really feel, I think. I try to think rather than feel. So the things like they also pray to Mother Mary. Things like you have to go to a priest as an intermediary to God. Those two are the major things that causes the rift between Roman Catholic and maybe it's the mainline Protestants. Why? Because the Bible is very clear. Now again, the Bible versus man's opinion. The Bible versus what some leaders teach.
But okay.
But let me just finish that point. So the Bible teaches that Jesus came and he made the way so that God and man can be reconciled. Only through him, only through his blood. That's how it worked. Now you want to add things like, no, you have to see the priest to get salvation for your sins. That's not true. The truth is Jesus died for your sins on a cross. So through Jesus, by faith, by grace, through faith alone, can you be saved. And then a priest is there to help you, guide you, pastor you. Yes, he's got a role and it's very important. But he's not the one who decides whether you can be absolved of your sins or not. Jesus has done that already. And now it's about walking by faith that out. So that's the big difference, I would say. And when I say that, I don't judge. I just point out the fact that that's the difference.
Yeah, someone said in the comments just now, religion was not on my Wednesday Gareth Cliff show bingo card. Bitcoin, but yeah, very good. I'll tell you what is on our bingo card. Is Tracy there? Oh, brilliant. I'm sorry to keep her waiting. So, Trace, first of all, you've been away for a long time. We haven't had you on the show for ages. What the hell, for starters?
Hello, everybody. Firstly, and when I got onto this call, when James connected me, I was like, oh, my God, what's going on? You're sorry, Heinz. I didn't mean to use God's name, but yes. I was like, am I at church this morning?
So that's all right. Don't worry. He's not here to be offended and upset.
No,
but we're going to talk about travel, and I think this is always one of my favorite things about doing these Wednesday shows is we get to, even if it's vicariously, travel through other people to all over the world. And you just got back from Spain, but you were at one of the most beautiful places recently where there's apparently a new lodge, and that's the Victoria Falls. So
yes.
For anybody who wants to know, you can always go and find this on travel.co.za. But let's just talk to Tracy about this because this is exciting. So what's happening at Vic Falls?
So obviously, Wild Horizons, which is one of our divisions based in Zim, and obviously have an operation in Cape Town as well. They're expanding tremendously, Gareth. I know myself, you and Rena visited there, I think in 2023. Yeah. And I think I've been back twice since, just purely because I love the place. So they have just opened a new lodge called Waterfall Lodge, and it's in town, which is quite different to our normal lodges. So it's very close to the falls. It is in Vic Falls town, a 60 room lodge, brand new. A little bit more of a hotel feel than the tented camps. And obviously, from a budget perspective and pricing perspective, it just reaches the market that maybe some of the other lodges would leave out. So I haven't personally been there. There you can see some of the footage.
Wow.
But a phenomenal lodge, brand new, just opened in, I think, about 2 weeks ago, if that. So all the gardens still have to sort of set and as soon as the first rains come, I think that place is just going to be unbelievable.
It looks phenomenal. Have you ever been there, Heinz?
No.
Vic Falls?
Oh, once, yeah. But I thought you meant that exact place.
No, not exactly that lodge. It hasn't even opened yet. It's open now, but
No,
it wasn't
I've been to
before.
Vic Falls way back in the day. I remember it was such a schlep to get my guitar through customs because they wanted to charge me like the value of my guitar twice in and out. But it was it's beautiful there. It's so
And
majestic.
aren't those falls?
Incredible.
I mean,
yeah, it's next level. I've been to Niagara Falls as well, which is much bigger, as obviously, but same kind of impressive experience. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I think it's magnificent. Trace, do you remember that? Since you say this place is nearer to town than the place that we were at last time, do you remember how we went to that curio market and managed to find that Emerson Mnangagwa fabric to make a shirt out of? Have you noticed the Zimbabwean presidents always have their own faces on their shirts?
No?
Yeah.
Really?
You could buy that fabric.
Their own faces?
I wanted to find Mugabe stuff, but he's no longer cool. So they make an Emerson one.
You should make one of those for yourself for that
I
common
did
sense
get
guy.
some. Yeah, I did get some, and I've been trying to find someone to make a shirt for me. Anyway,
Bring
we'll
it.
find
We've got Auntie Jane at our place. She'll make you something.
All right, awesome. So one of the things about that, I mean, Victoria Falls, there are a lot of hotels and there are a lot of lodges around there. But there's also quite a lot to do that doesn't involve you schlepping around the falls. And you talk about Wild Horizons. One of the things I enjoyed, and I wasn't even slightly nervous about it, is that swing that you do, where they hook you up and you swing across the gorge, and it is the biggest rush ever.
Whoa.
It's so exciting. It's the most awesome feeling.
I've only done that at Gareths. It's quite a vibe.
Isn't it awesome,
It's better
though?
than bunging. I hated
Yeah,
bunging, but
bunging.
bridge swinging is awesome.
Yeah, it's the best.
So cool.
I mean, a
I
swing.
think we need to get Heinz there. That's what we need to do. We need to get you
I
back
think
to
so.
the falls.
Just remember, he's going to travel with his whole family. How many children are there now? Like 7? How many do you have a
4.
tribe?
We're a family of
4.
6.
Yeah.
So you're
yeah,
going to the new lodge then?
No, listen, I can easily get a babysitter. Just me and my wife, please.
yeah, just for the bridge swinging. And I'll tell you what else is fun is you can do in certain times of the year whitewater rafting,
Yes.
which is quite
You
incredible.
can, yeah.
And there's a zip line, which is another thing if you don't want to do the bridge swinging. So there's plenty to do there, and there's so much activity that you could take part in. But it is phenomenal to see the landscape. I mean, there are those gorges further down where we actually had a picnic the one night, which, I mean, I can't begin to describe how amazing it is to look across what it must have been 500 meters of
Yeah, no,
just
it's
this
just it's a special
canyon.
destination. You know, I mean, I really have been everywhere. I've said to James, I've been to Sri Lanka, India, Spain, Mauritius, Greece, Germany, all in the last sort of 5 months. And look, Vic Falls was a special one for me because I went with a very close friend of mine. And that also makes a difference, you know, who you go with. So if we were to send Heinz, he would be with his wife or his family, and that makes it, you know, even better. But I got to stay in Old Drift Lodge, and, you know, from the moment you arrive at the airport and the Wild Horizons teams, you know, they pick you up and firstly, I always ask for a beer when I'm in the vehicle. I'm like, please make sure there's a few beers. So I just feel like I'm on holiday then if I'm having the local beer, you know. So
What's it
just
called?
phenomenal.
What's that local beer called?
Zambezi. It's called the Zambezi.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
And then, of
so-
course, you know, above the falls, I'm just trying to remember all the things that we did because it felt like we were there for a week, but it was only like 2 or 3 nights.
Yeah, it was 3 nights.
We went on one of those boats, and you can go up along the river, which is spectacular sunset cruise type thing where you've got a whole lot of people on this boat and people are having drinks and snacks, and you actually eat supper on there as well.
100%. So I think that the key is generally we try and jam pack our itineraries, you know, people. We're like, oh, I don't want to be bored. I don't want to sit in the lodge. I don't want to do the, you know, they want to like fill it up with all sorts of things. And I think with Vic Falls, firstly, the Wild Horizons team will plan your itinerary for you, depending on your package, obviously, and which lodge you stay at. You have more than enough to do. You know, you wake up in the morning, you either have a game drive or you do the Zambezi boat cruise, or you go to the Lookout Cafe for a lunch, or you do the zip lining and the swing and all of those things if you're a little more adventurous like you, Gareth. So I still haven't done it, and I probably won't do it. But you don't have to jam pack your itinerary. You can go, you can enjoy the people, you can enjoy the mighty Zambezi, which is just it's magnificent. So yeah, it's a bucket list item.
I think you've left out one or two things which really sell it for me, and this is a reason to go there if you haven't so far. I think anyone who can get there on planet Earth for any reason should go and see just this magnificent waterfall. Because particularly, and I saw someone ask what time of year is the best. What time of year is the best for the falls themselves?
June, July, I think. I was there at the beginning of June, and those falls were it was pumping. It was really full. So I would say maybe May, June, July, but I might be wrong. I'll have to double check. But I think we were there in June as well in 2023, and the falls were full. So
that was unbelievable.
June is a good time.
Yeah, I mean, to see the majesty of that, and to know that this is something that has been over thousands of years carved into the earth is just spectacular. And the amount of water you see going over there is just mind-boggling. Mm-hmm. But the other reason to go is because it's a really short flight. I mean, it's quick. If you're in Joburg, it's quicker than going to Durban.
Mm-hmm. And just for the record, it's not as expensive anymore, Gareth. The Safair flight will cost you, a return flight is 3,500. So it's like going to Cape Town.
Wow.
If not less.
There we go. All right, I love it. So people can go and check this out on travel.co.za?
Yeah.
All right, marvelous. Trace, thank you. It's always good to see you. And we'll make a plan soon, get together and talk about some more of these travel things. It's amazing. Awesome. Have an awesome day, and I hope you can actually be at your house for a couple of days because you sound like you've traveled non-stop.
I leave on Friday.
Where are you off to now?
Back to Sri Lanka with a group of 50. So I need a bit of a break. I need a break from traveling.
Yeah, good luck.
That's cool.
Thanks, guys.
All right, cheers. There's Tracy with the opposite problem of everyone else on Earth. She
travels too much.
It is. No, but you know what? That's her business. It's like you must get sick of people who come up to you and tell you to help them solve for the meaning of life, or their personal or family problems, or their issues around, was there really a creation and how did it happen? We got to get into all of that later on. I do think it's very, very exciting that we can talk about this stuff, because I can promise you the old version of both of us would never have had this conversation.
Probably not, yeah. Not this way.
No, certainly not. And if you came here this morning hoping to have some stupidity, well, I do have one stupid thing to show you a little bit later on. The whole of America is losing its mind over a Sydney Sweeney commercial. Have you seen this controversy?
I just saw something on Fox's Instagram yesterday, but I'm not sure about the detail.
Oh, wait till you hear. And I can't wait to hear your opinion on it. So all of that's coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second, taking a quick break.
You know what you need right now? That's right, the next installment of our famous Sports Greatest Photos show. Just when you thought you may have seen it all already, Part 3 dishes up 10 more photos and 10 more sensational stories. From back when England were world champions of football, through to the day our planet almost shifted off its axis because of a slip catch. It's an action-packed hour of sports like you have never seen before. It's episode 58 of The On The Bounce Show. Let's get into it.
You hesitate, but and I hesitate. If you hesitate, I go back. We all want to hesitate.
Yes, Bongi.
Hello.
How are you, Bongi?
I'm good.
You okay?
Yeah, I am.
Bongi. And then you are sleeping.
Yes. When I'm not in season.
All right, welcome back. It is Wednesday morning. It's the 30th of July, and Heinz Winckler is here with us. And we were talking about travel with Tracy from TTS just a moment ago. And you can go to travel.co.za. You're going to Turkey, apparently, he told me during the break.
We are so excited. 1st to 12 September. We seeing so many cool sights and things. It's going to be awesome.
You've been to Israel a couple of times, right?
5 times.
I haven't been, and I'm desperate to go, obviously.
I can highly recommend it.
Not great at the moment. You can go.
You can.
But it's there are places that you're not going to be able to see. What were your... Again, there's this overlap that you and I do have in interest in terms of history, archaeology, religious history. I mean, frankly, I'm fascinated by that stuff. I have so many books at home about kind of archaeology of religious sites, and I'm a massive fan of going into the church in every town I'm ever in.
Okay.
Because they are always the most magnificent buildings.
It's quite
in Europe.
amazing to see.
I mean, here in South Africa, we have not got more than 5 beautiful churches. We really don't. They're all so fucking ugly that I think they're an insult to God. I mean, if I were a Christian, I'd be upset by the fact that all our churches look so terrible.
Okay.
They're so utilitarian. There's a lot of brutalist architecture. They're not beautifully decorated inside. It's like squeeze as much in as you can. They have those terrible yellow and orange stained glass. It's just bad. I mean, I know that money is not the purpose, right? And in the old days, people believed that by giving your wealth to the church and allowing them to build these magnificent buildings.
They also built them over hundreds of years, which made a difference.
But you'd get to heaven quicker and all of that stuff. That was the idea, right?
I don't know.
So people probably took more trouble and time with it. Now it's more about the inside and the spiritual journey than it is the actual
gathering place,
the place that you go to on earth. But it does feel to me like when I walk into a magnificent cathedral that's been chiseled away by stonemasons over thousands of years, I feel like there's more gravity there than there is in some warehouse.
Is your question, did I see anything like that?
So did
in Israel?
What was on your agenda to go to the Holy Land, and what did you want to see there?
Well, the agenda. So I went as a spiritual leader, worship leader for a group that was already planned. So they have a schedule, an agenda, and it's basically following in the footsteps of Jesus. That's the main aim. But you also go to many other sites as well. So it's very much a pilgrimage. A lot of walking to historical sites.
So did you do like the Via Dolorosa?
Yes, you do the Via Dolorosa. We went to Bethlehem, went to Cana. You see all those beautiful sites. There's a great place in Nazareth called Nazareth Village.
Huh?
Where, sorry?
No. Tell me.
I think about 150 years ago, someone secured this area that they built into what they call the Nazareth Village, where they made it so that it's like first century Nazareth. So you can almost have an experience, or even have actors in the field.
People dressed up with beards
dressed up, and they're busy with goats and sheep, and they're making things the way it would have been that time. And there's a built to scale synagogue that was typical of that time, and then this whole journey of the guides help you to see the parables Jesus told come to life, which is really an amazing experience. But you also see beautiful architecture, like you say, the churches. There's a beautiful cathedral right by the Bath of Bethesda. And by that site, they built this. I think it was the Franciscan monks or someone. They built that one.
Yeah, because
it's this beautiful. The reverb in that place. Every time we go there, there's this thing where every tour group gets an opportunity to get into the front and be like a little choir, and they can sing a song, like a hymn or something. And every time we've gone, we've done Amazing Grace, and it's just an incredible experience to sing in that place. Yeah, I mean, not everyone in the tour group can sing, obviously. So I would sing once on my own, and then everyone falls in. so have that little moment.
You don't feel weird going into a building in a foreign country and just breaking out in song.
No, we do it all the time.
I'd be too embarrassed.
I actually feel it's so much easier because
Really?
no one knows me. I could just go, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, the tour we do starts at Mount Carmel, where the priest of Baal was slaughtered by Elijah, and there's a little
Always some kind of
chapel.
slaughter, some horrible, like, monstrous event, and we're going to start our tour here.
Yeah. And you have a view of Armageddon, where the final battle will
Megiddo,
take
yeah.
place. Megiddo is there, so that's pretty cool. I think a site that you will love. It's not a biblical site, but it's a great historical site. Is Masada? Have you heard of
it's
Masada?
amazing.
Bro,
I know the whole story.
I think you love like the Roman soldiers and all those things, and so there was this whole standoff
It was
between
a holdout for a few Jews who would not give up to the Romans.
It's an incredible and very sad
tragic,
story.
yeah.
Yeah, because they ended up
But
killing themselves. But
the church, the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, is not an attractive building. And it's on different levels. It's very hodgepodge.
It's very interesting.
Again, I haven't been there, but you must have been. And the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem, are they worth going to?
Well, it's one of those kind of things. While you're there, you might as well.
Sure.
I think it means way more to Roman Catholics to go to the Holy Sepulchre.
Mm-hmm.
For us as Protestants, the site that means way more is the Garden Tomb. Because we believe there's more evidence to show that Jesus was not crucified at the spot of the Holy Sepulchre, but he was crucified outside the city gates, because that's what Scripture says. And there's a rock formation right by the Garden Tomb that photos from like 50 years ago shows a skull on the mountain.
Hence Golgotha, right?
Yeah. And then right next to that is a Garden Tomb where they found a tomb that looks exactly like what's described in the Bible. So they believe this is all connected, and you can't like prove it 100%, but it's pretty close. And so that's a very special place to go. Dead Sea, drifting in the Dead Sea is incredible. It's so much fun. Just don't get the water in your eyes. It burns.
You go up to the Temple Mount?
Hectic. Temple Mount, yes, we can go up there. It's always kind of tense because that's a big separation, obviously, between the Jews and the Muslims. But it's acceptable. You're just not allowed to show any skin. So if you get there, you're wearing shorts because it's hot. They give you these weird, awful dresses that you have to wear while you walk the Temple Mount. But it's quite an experience. It's majorly big, like bigger than you can imagine. Yeah. But yeah, obviously, it's for me, it's interesting because when you go from the Jewish quarter into that area, there's a huge atmosphere shift. Like you just feel it. It's so different. Yeah. But it's a great experience, great pilgrimage. The Western Wall is something to experience. There's so much. One of my highlights the last two times, because it was new to the tour, was because they opened it up only recently, is going underneath the Western Wall and seeing the foundations of the old city. That's incredible. Seeing how they built those massive marble sandstones.
A lot of excavations around the city of David,
which
is the earliest part of Jerusalem. And that's interesting because it would have been, we're talking about 900 BC or somewhere around there. And, that would have been the very first human settlement in that area. I read the most amazing book, and it's worth you looking at when you go there again, because it gives you the whole history. It's called Jerusalem by Simon Sebag Montefiore. He's a historian who's probably written the best kind of biography of Jerusalem.
Okay.
And he goes through a lot of these places and explains how they fit in and what the story was around the time and who was in charge then. And it feels to me like it is the center of the world.
Yeah.
For certainly religious people, but even for people who are not religious. I mean, kind of everyone is caught up in that storm, right?
Yeah.
So what do you want to see in Turkey?
Well, the focus is twofold. It's where the Israel tour is like 70% spiritual, 30% holiday. This one's 50-50. But so the main spiritual side is seeing the 7 churches of Revelation. So going to the sites of the churches that are mentioned in Revelation, like Ephesus and Laodicea and Smyrna and all those places.
Right.
Great archaeological sites. Turkey is obviously not a Christian nation, so as a government, they don't look after those sites, but there are people who kind of are looking after them and trying to keep them preserved, and but they do like the Christian tourism, so there's sort of the system. But I've never been. This will be my first time, and it's a much bigger nation, so we're going to do more traveling, more driving. But yeah, we're going to, and then the fun side is we go hot air balloon in Cappadocia.
That's cool.
We're gonna live.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
We're gonna stay in 5-star hotels on the ocean.
Wow,
so
man.
it sounds amazing. I'm so excited.
And Istanbul, I can absolutely tell you, is
what a
is
fun
superb.
city. Yeah.
So I've never really been outside of Istanbul, and I really wanted to go to Troy, you know, where the supposed original Trojan Wars took place.
Oh wow!
And
No,
now
that
we're
could be cool.
talking thousands of years before any of the stuff in Jerusalem we were just talking about. But I mean, that's fantastic. If you think about the fact that the Persian armies later on and Alexander the Great from the other side going across that little strip of land, and making bridges across parts of the Sea of Marmara, which are, again, this is ancient history. It's
really
just
cool.
It's worth looking at. All right, so
I'm excited.
Before we get stuck into that kind of conversation, I do want to show you this, and I want to hear what you think about it, because I think it has quite a lot to do with what's going on in society at the moment.
All right.
From a good and a bad point of view. So Sydney Sweeney, obviously this hot girl with big breasts who was in Euphoria. That was like her first proper role. Yeah, that's where I saw her the first time. And look, she's a very attractive woman. Apparently, she's just done an ad for jeans company. I can't remember which American Eagle jeans is what it is. And this is causing people massive consternation.
Okay.
First of all, you'd think there'd never been an attractive woman in an ad before, because this used to be the norm when we were kids. I mean, like, every ad had a good-looking woman in it, because that's how you sell things to men.
Yeah.
All right?
All right.
We can debate whether or not that's the actual conservative position in a moment, but the left in America has gone completely crazy about this.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's worth looking at, because, first of all, we'll play the ad for you. I actually got this from, there's a guy who's very upset about this ad, and you've got to watch a bit of him. And then at the end of that, there's some leftists who are moaning about it, and you can put your own mind together straight after that. We'll talk to Heinz about it as well. Take a look.
Ad teasing about eugenics, and this is a very racist element of our science culture. Here it is.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has very genes.
Put it at full mass. It's called eugenics, has been utilized by racist individuals. Ironically, racist people like the KKK, who somehow claim that they are the masters of genetic expression while dating their cousins and sleeping in their mother's bedroom. I just had to. Okay, American Eagle's new fall campaign boasts the tagline, Sydney Sweeney has great genes, okay? Geans, which is, in my opinion, a wink and a nod to the eugenics movement, also anchored by Tucker Carlson and others. Social media has strong reactions to the campaign. Here it is.
This Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ad campaign, Nazi propaganda. We want blonde hair, blue-eyed babies propaganda.
Oh boy, now we're gonna get a bunch of ads like, don't you wish you were white? Me, to my teeth. Crest tooth polish, be white. Everyone knows that white is better. White chocolate, be white. Then maybe y'all will be like, something's up.
They probably wanted to market something that would just bring a lot of attention to American Eagle, regardless of who might be looking or who might be willing to buy or anything, or who their target audience is, allegedly.
I feel like that's another perspective too that I feel like no one's really getting. Like, you know, at the end of the day, like they're still getting the attention.
If you didn't think that this American Eagle, Sydney Sweeney, Great Genes, eugenics ad could get even worse, just wait until you find out about their CEO. This is Jay Schottenstein, who has been the CEO of American Eagle since 2015. Just wait until you see what he gives his money to. He gave $1 million to John Kasich in the 2016 primary. He gave a ton of money to Trump in 2024. But that's not all, because he is very pro-Israel. Him and his wife actually have their own campus for archaeology in Israel that basically, you know, digs up things from the Holy Land and gives it to Israel. He's a major donor for JNF, which basically illegally puts Jewish settlements in Palestine. He gave $157,000 to Netanyahu at his last election.
If you thought the company just slipped up, made an error, maybe they weren't aware of whoever was in charge of the ad campaign and it slipped past top management, think again.
I really don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't understand why you would jump to the conclusion that a play on words is suddenly a white supremacist dog whistle to eugenics. You have to be like diseased in the head to come up with that conclusion. And obviously all those people, including the presenter of that show I've never seen before, he looks like he should be a kind of evangelical preacher in the South, talking about, well, the sulfur and the rain of hell are going to come down on you motherfuckers because you're bad people and the Lord is going to punish you. But he's got this job. I don't know what he does. It's just amazing that this is something that would drive people crazy. It's an ad. And the one girl even says, it's almost like, you know, American Eagle are like trying to sell jeans. Yes, it's called advertising, you rocket scientist. It's mad. What do you think of this? Controversy.
Well, firstly, I don't think it's a great ad in the sense of it's weird angles. It's just weirdly I don't think the voice was necessary. But
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
She sounds
But
like
I do get the.
she's been hitting the head with a shovel.
I do get the play on words. I think it's funny. I think it's interesting. I do not get the jump to KKK and white supremacy.
No.
I do not see that.
It's a hell of a
but that shows you how easily the lunatics on the left are triggered. So easily they are triggered by anything. So
well, I mean, unless you put a gender non-binary, blue-haired,
overweight
woman of color in a wheelchair into the ad,
you're screwed.
They think it's white supremacy.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal. Like they are so touchy about this.
Yeah, and that's back to the oppressor and the oppressed. I mean, I believe, and this might be controversial, but the first reason why people would react to that ad the way they do is because they're jealous.
Well, I mean, it's ironic.
Probably the open door to the rest.
It's ironic you say this because I posted something on, I think it was Twitter, it could have been on Instagram, I don't remember, of a woman criticizing this ad. And you compare her to Sydney Sweeney, and you're like, well, yes, I know you're cross because you're very ugly.
You can't wear that jean.
and you are just a tremendously ugly woman who is just unhappy about the fact that Sydney Sweeney exists.
Yeah,
That's the truth. You want everyone to be uglier than you so that you can be the prettiest girl, like the Wicked Witch in Snow White. You want to be the fairest of them all. So you want to kill Snow White because you need that mirror to tell you you're the fairest of them all. And I'm sorry, everyone who seems to be criticizing this woman, who, look, I don't know that Sydney Sweeney is it should be anyone's lodestone for anything other than that she's pretty, and she is. But all these people that hate her are really, really hideous-looking people. And I think you're right. A lot of it just boils down to plain good old jealousy.
It's back to one of the things we discussed earlier is objective truth. Objectively speaking, she's an attractive woman, and she has been, lucky enough, blessed enough to be successful, be paid lots of money to be in that ad. And for all those reasons, people look at that and go, why don't I have that? Why? And then that sparks, because they're insecure, jealous. So, I'm not saying the ad is right. I'm just saying I understand the reaction to an extent but it's obviously quite out there now.
So it's interesting. The right is also giving this two kinds of reaction.
Okay.
So the left's two reactions are the one you just saw now from all these crazy people who are saying it's eugenics. Basically, you're talking about breeding the master race and that there are genes that are superior and inferior.
Oh, my word.
So there are those people on the left.
Yeah.
Then the other group of people on the left are feminists who say you shouldn't be objectifying women, you shouldn't be gawking at women.
Same feminists who are happy for J-Lo to not have clothes on a stage.
Yeah. Yes, the double standard hypocrite
It's so
feminists.
crazy.
I don't know if there is another kind.
Yeah.
And then you get two kinds of groups on the right as well. You get the one group who are just like pro anything that's anti the left.
Yeah.
So it's just the reaction group, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
these
yeah.
are the people who are like, well, if the left hate it, we love it. So they're going all in on like, show us more tits and ass, Sydney Sweeney, even though they don't really have a moral or ethical point of view. And the other group on the right are the ones who say, well, as a true conservative or as someone who believes that, you know, people should behave a certain way, they don't think it's appropriate that women, scantily clad women, are used in advertising at all because it seems to appeal to our baser nature. And that, of course, it's acceptable, but you wouldn't want your daughter to be in an ad, you know, wearing with her cleavage out there or whatever. So there are those people.
You know, I think that, you know, I agree with the principle, but it's a little out of touch with reality to have that angle, especially when there's, you know, underwear advertised everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it shows
You're
way
gonna
more.
Smack your daughter into a
Where
burqa.
you gonna where do you draw the line when there is no line? You know, so interesting.
Well, I mean, good for the only winner here really is Sydney Sweeney. Apparently, shares in American Eagle have gone up.
Well,
since
I was
the ad.
just gonna say to you, what if this whole thing is a conspiracy theory and everything that's happening is all planned and part of what they want to happen?
I think you can game a lot of this stuff now because you can predict what the reaction in the political realm is going to be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most of the people who are criticizing this ad couldn't fit in a pair of those jeans anyway. They're obese and they're angry and they try to look as ugly as possible, so they don't want to be wearing nice clothes. But you can also predict that their reaction to an ad like this will generate a lot of earned publicity, which is precisely why we're talking about it now.
Yeah, we're
right?
giving it publicity as well right now. And that's probably exactly what they wanted. Either they were hoping for this reaction or they orchestrated this reaction.
I think the most boring thing you can do in marketing, advertising, or creating new products right now is to have those happy, banal, multicultural, people smiling at each other, kind of toothpaste ads that were a big thing over the last 10 years. I think they do zero to sell anything.
What did you think of the Jaguar ad?
Well, okay, so that's interesting.
Did you discuss it on the show?
Is that the one, the Faguar ad? Is that the one you're talking
when
about?
When they did a rebrand and they had all these
so they
interesting...
had, like gender non-binary people and I'm a them, they.
That did not work.
No, well, Jaguar's screwed.
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't matter what people say.
Sure.
The
that
company,
did not go well.
That brand is absolutely ruined. Because
one ad.
What they did is they turned their backs on their core consumers.
On their customers, yeah.
The people who would, I mean, the kind of people who bought Jaguar, like people like my dad, I suppose. He never had one, but he's kind of their target market, you know?
That's very
sort
interesting.
Of old, kind of established, British, that kind of thing. He
and it's a Jaguar, man.
You know, instead you've got like these people with like shaved heads and non-specific genitalia and tight like spandex costumes, and
was
just like
very
it's not really
it didn't work.
It's not anybody's scene.
And again, it must have passed so many tests within the company and still be put out.
No, this goes back to your truth thing. People don't say what they really think.
Yeah, because maybe it's offensive.
Yeah, so
I might lose my job if my DEI job is in jeopardy if I say something.
Exactly. And you know HR is going to be on your case over something. So I want to ask you about a situation I was in the other day because, again, I'm interested in how other people would deal with things. And especially someone who's walked the path that you have. Now you're a dad, you're a pastor, all of these things. So it gives me a different point of view, things I don't have. So I was at drinks party or something, and this one, I was talking to a girl about something peculiar to her life. There was something going on, like I don't know, she'd come out of a relationship or whatever, and I said something like, that's got to be pretty difficult for you to deal with, or I was being oddly empathetic. Okay, some other girl who's like behind her or next to her says, "What did you say about me?" and turns around. Now, normally, I'd let it slide and go, no, don't worry, we weren't talking about you. I was like annoyed by this. She's probably, I don't know, 23, 24, this girl who interrupted, who thought we were talking about her, this narcissist, right? And I said to her, you're going to have to apologize. And you're going to have to realize very quickly that you're not the center of the universe. And we were not talking about you. You're not that interesting. And I won't have anyone speak to me like that, especially someone who hasn't learnt anything and has nothing to contribute to any conversation.
What was her tone and body language?
It was like it was like a teenager. She's just someone who hasn't grown up. Clearly,
but how did she say it to you?
What did you say about me? Like kind of like that.
Okay.
You know?
All right.
So, and I said to her, I will not be spoken to by you like this. You have absolutely no right to talk to anyone like this, let alone me. And I will not allow you to continue to have a good time here until you've apologized to both of us, because this is not acceptable. And I said to her, because she obviously did straight away, she was very embarrassed. It definitely spoiled the flavor of, and everyone else goes, oh, but I thought here's an opportunity to teach this girl that unless she develops better social manners, she's never going to be successful in business. She's never going to be successful promoting herself in the world. And it's always going to be an uphill battle for her. And I didn't have anything to lose from this. And I also didn't have anything to gain. But she could have gained from it if she'd learned not to do that again. Because it'll stand her in better stead with whoever she meets, to not be reactive and explosive and self-absorbed. Do you think I did the right thing?
Well, ironically, you fathered her in a way.
She clearly doesn't have a dad.
Yeah,
I'm just going to assume
you played that role in a way. So it's difficult to say because I wasn't obviously in the moment and know exactly what happened. My first reaction when you explain it the first time, and I'm thinking of a bar, kind of a kuier, environment.
No, it was at someone's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My first reaction was maybe that was a way for her to jokingly.
No, she wasn't kidding.
Get into the conversation. No. Okay.
She was snapping.
Yeah. Okay. No. So then, it was definitely her thinking. I see that a lot with. We live in a very narcissistic time where many people think everything is about them, and it's really hard to navigate. I don't know how I would have handled it differently. I may not have corrected it as harshly, but I probably would have said something similar. I don't know. Depends. But I think it's good that you didn't just let it happen. I would be careful to not break the person down, but rather build them up, but with a firm, statement of that's not okay. Here's a better way to deal with that situation.
I think that's the right way to do it. Whether I did it right or not, I'm very happy I did it, because I also thought, if she hates me and she never wants to talk to me again, I'll be okay with that.
Well, you have lines, and she crossed one, and now she knows.
Yeah, I've got enough friends, and life is short, and I don't have time to waste on
Plus,
people.
23 is very young.
Yeah, she's and again, like, that makes me sympathetic in a way, because I know at 23 I was probably a moron. I didn't know how to behave.
Apparently our brains are only fully formed at 25.
Apparently. That explains a lot. I mean, I think mine still hasn't fully formed if I think about it properly. Carl says the only way we can judge whether you were justified or not is if we see this girl. If she was hot, you had no right sitting her straight. If she was fat and ugly, you didn't go far enough. No, she was actually, she wasn't bad looking. Congo Chris says, It's because of all the fatherless households that single mothers are telling their children they're the most important person. It seems there's a theme developing here.
Overmothering, underfathering.
But also, how do you deal with, even with your children, how do you steer them away from a world that is geared towards self-absorption?
That's very...
your phone. Most people spend... I think that the latest statistics came out that the average American kid, I think we're probably a bit better than them, but not that much. The average American kid spends between 6 and 8 hours on a screen
per day.
That's almost more than sleep.
That's scary. That's as long as they should be at school, actually.
Right. So if that's true, they're looking for dopamine hits the whole day, right? Which eventually erodes.
They're addicted, yeah.
But it also makes it so hard for you to ever be happy.
Yeah.
Because you're getting the constant dopamine hits, which means...
And you always need more.
Which means every time you achieve a long-term goal that means something, it feels like just another like.
Sure.
Or just another thing that you've encountered on your scrolling.
It's a very big problem. Even secular scientists are saying don't give a child a social media before the age of 16. Don't give them screens before 11. It's just bad. I mean, a lot of the ADHD and issues we see in children is linked back to too much screen time too early. Very, very. You can speak to any occupational therapist; they'll tell you that it's a huge problem, and we have this. We have to manage this with our children because we don't believe in taking it completely away. We believe there's a way to use it, in an effective way.
How do you manage that, just with your kids, let alone?
So we set an
society.
age for where they can have a phone for communication, which is 13. You can have a phone for communication from 13. Before
you should
that,
buy them those. Have you seen those terrible, little piece of shit phones? They cost like 300 rand.
Yeah.
You can dial a number, but that's about it.
We tried that for a while, but it became quite ineffective just because of how convenient WhatsApp is. So what we've done is, with my 13-year-old, he's got one of my old iPhones. He's got WhatsApp. He's not allowed to have any social media other than that. We have software and block things on it to
like parental
controls. Locking, parental lock, blocking pornography, logging anything that's inappropriate, and also time constraints. So he can only be on WhatsApp for 40 minutes a day, and his phone shuts down at I think 8:30. He can't use his phone because the worst thing you can do is give a teenager a phone alone in a room.
Oh my God.
That's really bad. And what's really scary to me is there are parents who have teenagers they've got a TV with gaming and an iPad and a computer and a phone in their room.
Full internet connection,
with access.
Wi-Fi, yeah.
You are not loving your child. I'm just going to say that out loud. You don't like your child, you don't love your child because you're setting them up for failure.
Yeah.
They are going to be broken, spoiled, horrible people that will ruin your life. Don't do it. Take it out. Get things in line. It's just not just me saying this. It's well-known scientists, psychologists, psychiatrists who say this. It's really bad. So we've drawn strict lines. We often have fights with our children, but we give them rope and then we see how they do. And then we have conversations. We just talk about stuff a lot. I want to know where their hearts are at, where their heads are at, what's being said at school, what are you hearing? I do let my kids listen to...
There's a lot of work here.
Yeah.
This is a tough job.
I do let my oldest, Leon, who's 15 now, he is very, very clever. He reads a lot. He's got a great grasp on history, and he's very interested in the things, the current things happening. So he would listen to Joe Rogan, and even if there's a bit of swearing in there, I do think it helps him to understand the world we live in. He listens to my podcasts.
Otherwise, you come out of there and I suppose you're just shocked by everything you see and hear.
Yeah, so it's
hard
tricky.
thing.
It's very tricky.
It's a difficult thing to be a parent who wants to raise your kids in either a religious context or in a spiritual context or
just
in
some boundaries, healthy boundaries. I believe in healthy boundaries, and I think every parent who loves their children should believe in healthy boundaries and be aware of the dangers of screen time, pornography, all these things. It's very damaging to children. The average age of kids being exposed to pornography is 9.
That's outrageous.
9.
That is outrageous.
Do you know what that does to a child's psyche? It's terrible. So it needs to be stopped. It needs to be managed, and that's also why we need fathers. The thing is, children need to be outside, especially boys, need to be outside playing.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be behind a screen, gaming 12 hours a day.
And
it's very unhealthy.
And you can argue it's even worse for girls because the kind of thing that they're doing on social media is monstrous and destructive.
Yeah, because they think self-worth is exposing myself in ways that'll get me likes, and the likes are from boys.
Or self-worth is, and maybe this is as bad, if not worse, self-worth is pulling other girls down and bullying them and saying, being the mean girls, effectively.
Yeah, but now being a mean girl is I have more likes than you.
Yeah, correct.
And that's where it starts, and it's horrible. Now I have coffees with dads that have daughters where we can see, okay, it looks like there might be something happening between your daughter and my son. Let's talk about it, because I think dads should be involved in a healthy way to help navigate these things.
Shepherd.
Yeah,
shepherd with the flock.
It's important. Yeah, I know this seems very weird to some people, but I would rather know not just the girl, but the family she comes from, that my boy is interested in.
For sure.
Because it's part of me guiding him and loving him. So,
I think the parents are the issue. Most parents are addicted as well, says Christian Buerta. I think he's right.
That can happen, yeah. It's very difficult when you stand with your phone in your hand and say, get off your screen.
Exactly.
You're on your screen.
Physically and emotionally absent fathers have a massive negative effect on kids and society, says Barely Vocal Media. He also says, I've seen my son's mood change after he's had screen time.
Yeah.
Too much dopamine triggering and dependency.
Not healthy, yeah.
Yeah. Even if your brain is fully formed at 25, it still does mean you have assimilated the right life lessons. Does it still mean? I don't know so. Toki, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. So I'm not even going to go into that. But I think this is quite interesting. Slippery Pickle says, Gareth, was that girl that you reprimanded a vegetarian like Adolf Hitler? I'm trying to prove my hypothesis that becoming a vegetarian is the most dangerous thing you can do. I got to tell you, it's called Moore's Law, right? Where Adolf Hitler has to come up in every conversation. And you saw it in the eugenics commercial.
Yeah, also came up.
Why do people only have one reference for evil?
Yeah.
And that evil is always the Nazis or Hitler. I just don't think very many people have thought about evil enough. What do you reckon evil is? We discussed this briefly last time I saw you, but I think it's massively important. What is good and what is evil?
Well, I think it's a simple answer. God is good, God is love, God is light, and the enemy, it's Satan, Lucifer, the devil, is the opposite. He's evil incarnate. And evil is, where did it start? He wanted to be like God. Pride, pride led to the fall.
Sure,
fall,
I get all of that, and I don't want to get into the...
But the fruit of that is evil.
For mythological creatures like Lucifer, Satan. But I do think it's important. How do humans know if they're being good or evil?
Well, I understand that you think he's a mythological creature, but I believe he's very real, and he's the source of evil. That's why I'm saying that. I'm answering your question the way I see it. So he's the source of evil. The Bible describes him as that he came to kill, steal, and destroy. So anything that has to do with killing, destruction, and stealing has to do with his agenda. And Jesus came to give...
like the government?
Yeah. So
because they come to kill, steal, and destroy.
Yeah, so how do you measure what's good? How do you measure what's evil? And it's very funny when you get into this conversation with people who say they are atheists or agnostics or they don't believe in an absolute truth, because then it's very hard for them to say there is a moral compass, because what's moral to one is not moral to the other. But when you lie to that person, cheat that person, or slap them in the face, they're very quick to react and go, that's not right. And like, how do you know? How do you know that's not right? You know. So what's good? What's evil? I believe good is what is in line with the will of God, and evil is what's outside of His will and outside of what's the line of God. The problem is that some people have decided evil is a gray area. And so this is
why I'm asking.
This is less evil, and that's more evil. But in terms of the morality for the Christian is there's God's way and there's your way. I love this quote from, I think it's Tim Keller, who said, he says there's two types of people in the world. The one who says, Lord, have your way, and the other of which God says, have your way.
Right.
And I think that sums up the world. So we can say certain deeds are evil. We see horrible things happen in our world. We just did a weekend retreat with ladies for inner healing that my wife was leading. And 4 out of 5 of the women on this camp, just 150 women together, 4 out of 5 of them were molested as children. Now that's a horrible statistic to think about. There were some of them who were raped, some of them who were abused physically, emotionally, horrible stories. Now that is evil. It's evil when men break women. Where does it come from? I believe it comes from men not knowing who they are, and men having been done, that was done to them on some level as well. So hurt people hurt other people. They perpetuate evil.
Just don't interfere with other people's bodies without, for starters, without their permission.
Yeah.
And second of all, don't do it if you don't know someone. You're not allowed to do that stuff.
But some of the sad stories is it was a dad doing it to his own daughter. That's just scary.
Particularly shocking.
But
the reason I ask about the evil definition, and I don't want us to get stuck in the reeds here, about I need a definition that applies to people who are not necessarily God-fearing Christians. And I'll tell you why.
Well, my question would be, what is their measuring stick for where does it start? So where's the line? So how do you decide what's right and wrong, good and evil, if you don't have a source that is
I'm asking
where
for
it
your
comes
help
from?
in trying to figure out these definitions so that people who are confused, there are lots, you just said it yourself, there's this kind of gray area between good and evil, and people aren't able to be virtuous and do the right thing.
All right.
Because they don't know what the definitions are. So I need to understand how you see evil. And I didn't mean there isn't a Satan or a Lucifer and that isn't the source of it. What I mean by my perhaps poorly worded phrase about mythological creatures is just we need a definition that is behavioral, that is human, that is earthly, that is secular, so that we can understand immediately. Because a lot of people, I think you have an easier time of this than most. I have an easier time of it because to me it's quite simple. But many people may look at, it's just bank fraud. Or, so you broke your neighbor's fence, not a big deal. Or, it could be hideous things like the abuse of a woman by her father.
Yeah.
And everybody can more or less see. There probably are people in the world, like the perpetrators of things like that, who don't see it as evil.
Yeah. So 2 things. I would say the broken window theory is the one. If you let the small things slide, the bigger things will come in a bigger way. So I don't know if you know the broken window theory.
Yeah, sure.
But
this is Rudy Giuliani in
how
New York.
He changed Manhattan around.
Yeah. But just by the way, and not to nitpick again, but if we're going to go down that road, and it's a laudable goal, I would love to see a world where we can all live and the small things and the big things are taken care of. But we know humans are completely fallible. And we know that if you impose a rule that all sins are equal.
It's not all sins are equal. I don't believe that.
Only with the dealing of the tiny broken window theory are you going to improve society. I think it does help on the macro scale.
Yes.
But it doesn't help us with the definition.
But your question was the definition of evil, not how do we get people to be better. So that's a different question.
I'm saying they're not going to get better if you define things by the broken window theory, because it's impossible for us to make any progress on that level in just definitional terms.
Okay. Well, the second thing I wanted to say is what I'm thinking of is what most people would refer to as the golden rule, which is actually...
that's the do unto others.
Yes, that's what it's actually teaching from Jesus himself, where he said that, you should do unto others as you would like to be done unto you. And so for most part, that will help us to get at least a standard of, well, I wouldn't want to be robbed, hurt, my land taken away, or my family hurt, or any of these. I wouldn't want to be touched in an inappropriate way. So I will not do it to anyone else. I think that's pretty much the best way to start. Why? How would you define evil?
I've thought about this a lot because it's bothered me that many people make it something stupid like just being selfish. Being selfish is evil. That's a child's definition. Okay. You won't share your toys with me, so you're bad. But I think it has to do with whether or not you are taking something valuable, whether it's spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, or whether you're giving something valuable. If you're adding value to things and to people and to your environment and everything else.
Now you have to define value.
Well, okay, so value is something which
measured against what?
We can be objective about this. I think you're adding value to someone's life if you spend time with them in a positive and productive way. If you are giving them advice, if you're giving them money, if you're giving them a job, if you're giving them a sense of purpose and meaning.
So
stuff
just
that you're
to throw
doing
a
with
spanner in the wheel. Let's say you have a dad who is great at that, adding value to society. He's working so hard, changing the society. He neglects his wife and his family, and they turn out to be broken and hurt people. Where is that evil? Is that not evil?
No, I think there's a hierarchy of needs as well. There's a hierarchy of love, actually. I think you start with what's closest to you. You have to start with your immediate responsibilities, and nothing should be more important to you than your family. We even accept this with politicians. If someone has a family tragedy, we forgive them for not being the mayor for that week. So I think there's a basic built-in, like family's the inner circle. Then I suppose you start to move out from that, the neighborhood, the community, the nation, the international community.
Yeah, I think that's the ideal, but I don't think most people live that way now.
But taking away value is an easy one to quantify. I mean, if I kill you, I'm taking away your life. If I steal from you, I'm taking away things that are valuable to you.
Okay.
If I hurt you, if I do something that is malignant and malicious, then I think there's a fair amount of kind of common sense that's evil that people can see in that.
Yeah.
And that's the closest I can get. I'm deeply dissatisfied with my definition, but it's about the closest I can get to it. Because I think evil's also overplayed a lot of the time, particularly by religious people, because it's used as an instrument to torment children into behaving themselves. Like if you lie, if you cheat in your exams, if you don't eat your lunch, then the devil is going to come and get you, and terrible things will happen to you in hell, or you'll fall and land on your face or some shit. Like it's a well-known trope that has been used over centuries, not just by parents, but by people who say that they're more holy than you are, and then they say, well, the devil's going to take you, and it frightens people.
Yeah.
So they're frightened in. I don't see too much evidence of humans needing the devil to behave badly. I see a lot of humans who absolutely don't need the excuse of the devil to be shits themselves.
Well, I believe that, and this is now also a controversial topic, I don't believe that people are intrinsically good. I believe we are born in sin and we have a sin nature. So our default is not to be good and do the right thing. Our default is to do the opposite.
We'll revert to evil?
Yeah. If you were not parented well, you would be a complete degenerate.
Oh, but hang on. What about? Thanks very much. I would be and you wouldn't. Okay, so
no, I would as well.
So all the credit,
I would as well.
So all the credit to my parents.
Yes.
No, I've never liked that. What about being made in the image of God? Is that just a looks thing?
I believe I've got a very strong theory that not everyone will agree with, but I believe that refers mainly to the spiritual side of things, because God is unseen and He's spirit.
You can't be a complete degenerate if you're not raised well. And what about this? The idea that there is good without the rules that religion imposes, that even people who are not religious can do good and can know good when they see it.
Anyone who is?
You are able to do good without necessarily being a devout Muslim, Christian, Jew, Buddhist.
It depends again on what your definition of good is, and also you don't know the full intention of someone's heart for the reason they're doing it.
Well, the Good Samaritan.
If you're doing,
okay, he was not a Christian by definition.
No, he was, but also that was a parable. So it was a story for instruction, and Jesus was speaking to a Jewish audience, and the Jews hated the Samaritans.
Yes,
the Samaritans to them was a mixed race, and so he was very particular. So he said the first one was a Pharisee, the second one was a Levite. They didn't help the guy. The guy who did help the Jew that was robbed and beaten was a Samaritan, and he went out of his way to help the person. So that was the point of that story. And he said, so who is your neighbor? The point of the story is that everyone's your neighbor, no matter where they come from, how they look, or how you perceive them to be. Because remember, now he just told Jews that you need to love a Samaritan, and Samaritan should love you and treat you accordingly. So
but isn't there also a part of that that's about goodness sometimes lies in places you'd least expect it?
No, of course. I think that happens. People do, what we would say is the right thing for the right reason, and that it's not necessarily based on a religious belief. I do get that, and that happens, absolutely. They were moved with compassion for some reason to do the right thing. That absolutely happens. But what I can tell you from my own life is the more that I understand what life is about from the Christian perspective, the more I die to myself and become more like Jesus, the more I want to do those things, and I automatically want to serve people, help people, and guide people. And that's what the Christian life's all about. Should be.
Vyasan says, deep show today, too broad a conversation, too little time. Judas says, that's Judice, not Judas as in the guy who sold Jesus for, 30 pieces of silver. Heinz has been the best guest of the year for me. So wise, refreshing, convicted in a good way. May God continue to bless and keep you, your family, and your ministry.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Nice, yeah?
Appreciate that.
You see, I do have a couple of good people in my audience. Some of them are terrible. I love them too. By the way, Moore's law is about the number of transistors in a microchip. The Hitler one is called, it's something. It's someone look it up. That Hitler has to come up in a conversation.
It's almost like that 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon.
Yeah. And I think that's reduced to 3 degrees now in the social media world.
Probably.
It's amazing who you can get hold of.
Yeah.
And who you can actually have a face-to-face conversation with.
Very cool.
So what stuff have you got planned for the rest of this year? You mentioned your Turkey trip, but what else can we look forward to?
I am planning on going to Pakistan in November on a missions trip, which is a real stretch for my...
Oh, I thought to play cricket.
No? No, I've been invited by a church to go there.
Really?
Yeah. Dude, over about 2-year period, I got these random Facebook messages from Pakistani pastors who watch my videos.
It's not real.
I know.
They're Al-Qaeda. They're luring you in to kill you.
No, I have figured out that... No, I got the sense that it's not real. But what happened was one of my Israel trips was with a pastor from Friend of God Church. And they've got churches all over the world.
Right.
And I was about to write off the whole Pakistani idea because in my selfish nature, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And I was writing a message to this last guy that tried to get me there. And I said, this is not my calling. I'm not going to come. I'm not interested. And I was reminded that in 2005, I felt God gave me a scripture, Isaiah 55 verse 5, that says, nations you know not will come to you, and nations you do not know, you will run to. And I felt I need to stop, and I need to at least give this a real shot. So I reached out to my pastor friend. I said, listen, do you guys have a church in Pakistan and a trusted pastor that I can speak to? He said, yes. So he connected me with this guy in Lahore, Pakistan, and we've been building a relationship over a year now. And I now know that this guy and his church is legit. I've preached for their church online.
Really?
And now he wants me to come, do an outreach, visit the 10th city of Christians who've been shunned because they are Christian in a Muslim nation, and do a leadership conference and a church service So I'm going to head out there in November for that. Yeah. So I'm excited and
okay.
nervous.
That's like almost a missionary type stuff.
It is.
Right?
It's a missionary trip. That city is 94% Muslim, 4% Christian. So it's enemy territory. It's going to be very interesting. Yeah.
All right.
It's not something I know.
No, that's exciting.
So, and other than that, the Turkey trip and that, and then, the church, we've got a lot going on. We've got a women's conference coming up at the end of August, a huge thing. Last year we had 700 women. My wife was one of 4
what do they do?
speakers.
Just gossip for like hours?
No,
There's
no,
a
no.
women's conference.
No, we have these incredible women's.
Compare their jewelry. What are they doing?
Our focus is fourfold. So we use the word real. It's the real conference for women. We also have a men's one. It stands for restoring daughters, equipping women, activating wives, and leading mothers. So the 4 main roles that most women would have or have, we focus on that. So our speakers have talks that are into that to help restore, equip, empower women to be that from a biblical point of view. So that's the focus. And then we host a leadership summit. There's a thing called the Global Leadership Summit, which is an amazing leadership training day. They host it every year in Chicago. They package it and they send it around the world, and then local churches host it. So we're hosting that at the end of October, which is always incredible. There's some great speakers, and you just learn a lot from leadership. Other than that, running the church and doing my podcast. So those are the things that are
That's enough, dude.
going on.
You got enough on your plate. I wouldn't go to Pakistan. That's where God and I would have words. Be like, no, I don't care about what it says in Isaiah, whatever it is that you said. I'm not going to some country I don't want to be in. No, I love it.
Walking by faith.
I always love talking to you. There are still so many things that we have to get through and talk about, but we'll get there one day. And I appreciate you coming up to Joburg to spend some time
Thank
with
you.
us.
I really appreciate it too.
Thanks,
God bless
dude.
you.
And have a lovely day. We will be back on Friday morning, 6 a.m., and we will see you then.